Hi everyone, just before the video starts, so this is like recorded after the whole tutorial, this intro, so keep that in mind. I wanted to say that this page where I'm gonna leave the files for download, it's gonna be like the MP4 file, the video file that we're gonna need for Keyshot animation. Here is how it's looking like. It's just a watch face that goes from black or turned off however you want to the on. And um, this is the SolidWorks file that we're gonna need for Keyshot, and this is the STL file that we're gonna need for Blender simulation. So like I said, all the files are already here and they are available for download. Also, I wanted to mention that I haven't recorded a long tutorials in a while. I forgot English, I forgot Blender, I forgot SolidWorks. I haven't also been working in like months or two because my health is not really perfect in last few months. So I wanted to say that I was not as clear and easy to understand in whole this process, but I'm pretty sure that if you watched some of my previous videos, or even if you didn't, you will be able to understand everything I'm saying and everything I'm showing, and I'm sure that you're gonna be able to follow up this tutorial, especially because it's nothing really hard, even if you haven't ever used Blender or Keyshot. So here I also wanted to show the video contains like two main parts. In the first part we are exporting that STL file to Blender and working on that Blender simulation. It's really nothing hard, trust me. After that is done, we take the version of it and export it to Keyshot. And here I'm gonna be showing a few tips on how to quickly prepare the animation for final rendering. I will be, as you can see, adding some materials as well. And in the end I'm also gonna be adding that video label that I just showed. And I will be also showing a few important things here in order to complete the animation. So that's the video preview, and that's I believe everything I wanted to say. When you open up the Blender, you're gonna have in a new project, you're gonna have this cube, and I'm gonna repeat this. I'm pretty new to Blender, so don't mind my skills. I guess I'm good enough to show you what I want to show you today in this tutorial. So we go to File, Import, and we find STL. Now this is gonna be tricky. I'm so fucking confused with these files, like Apple Watch. Here it is. It was easy this time. So import the STL file I left online, and now you're gonna see that it is huge, but it's really simple, and that's what we need. For a start, let's scale it so that looking from the top it's kind of matching the size of this grid or something like that, because at the moment it's pretty huge. So scale down. We are doing all of this like sort of, it doesn't really matter because we will all get similar result, and just slightly more scale, and that's enough. I'm gonna move it like sort of to the center. It's not really important to have it like perfect, and we need to rotate it. I will explain later why. Basically our water is gonna come from the top and it's gonna go down, and we're gonna use the gravity force in order to kind of splash that water. And the reason why I want it to go down is the reason that after the water hits our watch and splashes onto it, I want it to keep going down, so it's kind of closer going around the watch. You will see. Anyways, we need to rotate this, and let me just see where is the freaking toolbar. Here it is. So we want these buttons to be facing down. So on X we should have like, no, let's not touch the X for the moment, Y. On the Y axis it's 90, I guess. Yes, and that's pretty much it when it comes to rotation. Just rotate it on the Y axis 90 degrees. Now I'm gonna also drag it up so it's above this floor. Okay, looking from the top, I'm gonna move it again somewhere in the middle of this grid, and that's everything. And I think we are pretty much done with this watch. Now let's move on to the cube. This cube is gonna be our domain body for this water stimulation, so it has to be like huge, so let's scale it up. Scale. I'm gonna press Y on my keyboard just so we can see inside. Now how big I want it to be. Let's say that watching from the side we want the middle of the cube to be in the middle of the watch. And when it comes to size, let's resize it like this. So like I said, it doesn't have to be necessarily very precise. Looking from the top, let's actually scale it slightly down, and yeah, now we are going to scale only on Y axis, so press S and Y and just slightly scale it up, and that's pretty much the work done on this cube. And we will at the moment also duplicate this cube by pressing Shift D, and once you move the mouse, press escape key so it's in the same position as the first one. For this cube we're just gonna go down and move it down until it's somewhere around here, and we will scale it slightly, just slightly up, so it's looking like this, so it's like wider than the first cube. And let's bring back some side view, and I'm gonna again go to this wireframe mode, and I'm gonna scale this cube right now only on Y axis. I want to make it small like this. Now the only thing, I'm gonna press again Y to go to this type of view. The only thing we need now is to move it so that it slightly intersects this other cube, and as you can see it does intersect. That's the work done. This second cube is gonna be our outflow object. I will explain later what it is, and we will now add our inflow objects. Let's also save this file, control S. I'm gonna name it tutorial. So save, and we are gonna be adding, let's see, in this toolbar. I forgot to say that my Blender is not the latest version, but I guess you're gonna be able to follow, and perhaps some of you are not having the latest version. Mine is 2.79. So that's the version that I'm using, and we go to this create toolbar, and we are gonna be adding something like a cylinder, and this cylinder is actually pretty small, but it's close to what we need in terms of size. And we go to something like top view, and we have to move it in the middle of these objects. Now what we want to shoot at with this cylinder is this main part of the watch, where is the metal case, because that's the most important thing we want to splash with our water. And I'm just gonna scale it. I'm gonna scale it so that it's slightly bigger than the case itself. Again, I'm saying you don't have to be so precise. After you make one iteration of this simulation, you will see later what you want to do. I'm just gonna scale it up slightly more, and now I'm gonna scale on X axis. No, I'm gonna scale it on Z axis. Okay, and I'm gonna make it like smaller in this axis, so that it's more looking like a elliptic cylinder or elliptic shape, if that makes some sense. And I'm gonna rotate and see. As you can see, at the moment it's almost hitting our watch, and we want to move it somewhere above, but don't make it like go outside of our first cube. So you want it to be as far as you can from the watch, but at the same time not putting it out of our first cube. So that is somewhere around there. And I think that's it. We can now apply some settings to all of these parts, and bake our simulation, and then later go to Keyshot. So let's start with the cube. This first cube is the most important because it's gonna be our domain object. So let's start with this one. We go here and we say fluid. Now as the type, like I said, it's gonna be domain, and for a start we wanna have like 65. It's okay. For the preview we can put like 100. Like I said, for a start we're gonna do like a low resolution, just so we are sure that that we simulated this properly. Start end, I'm gonna make it 3 seconds. Also here in this timeline put 3 by 30, that's 90 frames. So start 1 and 90. And let's see what else we have to say here. Yeah, you have to enable here. So find a folder where you can put the caching file. The caching file is gonna require a lot of space. So find disk drive in your PC where you have a lot of space, and depending on your desires, it may really need a lot of space for this one. At the moment it says like 17 megabytes, but trust me, you're gonna go above 2 gigabytes easily. What the hell happened here? Okay, I don't know what happened, but it's not really important. The other settings, as you can see here, this is the setting that was causing me a lot of troubles, because the scene gravity is just like in a normal world, -9. Later I will show you what we are gonna do with that one. So here in the cylinder we're gonna set fluid, and it's gonna be Outflow object is basically the thing where the water is coming out. And for the volume for this thing, we're gonna do volume, export animated mesh, and where the hell is the speed? Boat, shell, volume, outflow, inflow. No, sorry, I was wrong. I said outflow, it needs to be inflow. Inflow is the one that is adding water to our scene. So volume, yes, that's true. Export animated mesh, okay. And for the velocity, velocity is like a speed of the water that is coming out. So after switching and switching and switching from and making a couple of iterations, I came to conclusion that for this one speed should be somewhere around, so on the z-axis we type minus 0.05. You will see later if you like that speed or you want to change. For now, let's keep it that way. And I think that this cylinder inflow object is pretty much done, and we can go back to our main cube. Actually, let's dive in this second cube that is our outflow object. So I'm not gonna mix it again. This one should be like when you click fluid, you go to the outflow, and this object, you can say export animated mesh. This object is actually the one that is gonna when we splash our watch, and the water is gonna come down, and basically this cube is gonna collect all of that water particles and it's gonna disappear right there, and we really need that in order to simplify our animation or simulation, however you want. Otherwise, what would happen is that the water would hit the bottom of our main cube, that is the domain object. Oh, something already happened here, okay. The water would hit the bottom of this cube and it would again simulate another splash, which would add even more details, and it would take a huge amount of time to simulate. For some reason this thing already animated itself. So let's quickly take a look at it. As you can see, resolution is pretty bad. The only thing I'm not understanding is why it's not coming out well from our cylinder body. Maybe we're gonna have to move it later, we will see. And as you can see, if you play it, you're gonna see that speed is somewhere okay. So maybe we don't have to change those gravity settings. Okay, and let's see what else I have forgot to. Yeah, this body, I don't know how this managed to really animate itself when we didn't say that we want our watch to be fluid and object is obstacle, but somehow it seems that Blender know what it needs to do. Anyways, for this watch you're gonna set obstacle and make sure you select export animated mesh. For this volume we can say, I don't know, like boat. For cylinder as well. Nothing changed at the moment because we haven't actually pressed bake. And one of the final settings I'm gonna change, I'm gonna go here, and here it says set minus 891. I'm gonna say minus, so this is the gravity, minus 0.08, because I have some reasons to believe that this gravity is also affecting the speed of the water coming down. I'm gonna go back to the cube here, and we go here in the meters, because this is a fairly small object. We want our water to be simulated as in a real world. We're gonna say something like 0.075, because we don't want our, like, if you have a pool or something huge, then this factor should be big. If you have smaller object, this factor should be smaller, in order to provide some realistic water animation or simulation. However, fluid boundary, at the moment I'm gonna leave here no slip, remove air bubbles, okay. And smoothing is also one important thing. The setting that I was able to use is 1.2, but I would suggest more, although it's also adding to the simulation time. Unfortunately, my PC was not able to handle more than 1.2 and more than one subdivision. If your PC can handle more, then go, I would go like 1.8, maybe even 2. In subdivisions I would also add like 2 or 3 or 4, so that it's more realistic. Subdivision is basically when the, let's say, water droplets, which are for example 1 centimeter, are splitted into even smaller. So I'm gonna leave it to 1. At the moment I am not able to incorporate any fluid particles. Again, it's because my PC, I'm pretty sure, would not be able to handle it. And if you want, you should actually add these. The amount should be like 0.1 or something like that, or maybe even 0.01, just for a start, so you see if your PC can handle this simulation and it's not like taking too much time. Like I said, I'm gonna leave it to 0, but you should add some, at least small number, in order to make it look real. Now I'm gonna save everything and press bake, and this first baking should be fairly quick, because like I said, resolution is only 65. So let's see. Okay, so it's going pretty quickly. It should be done like in a minute. We can already see now. Okay, now it's working very well. As you can see, resolution of these is quite bad, and the amount of resolution you're gonna be able to go up is, like I said, limited by your PC hardware. If you have a better PC, you can go up. Me personally, I would do like 400, and I would add more subdivisions and smoothing, like I said, and I would add some particles, but at the moment I am not able to do that. Also, simulation threads, I believe this is a number of the threads you have in your CPU. So if you have, for example, 16 threads, you can include those, so that it simulates this thing faster. I have only 4, so I will go to 4. Actually, I will go to 2, because I need more threads for recording the screen. And as you can see, this thing is working, and the preview looks terrible. Here on the cube, once it's selected, press smooth here, so we get a better image of how it looks like. And I think the speed is fairly decent, and we have pretty much done this properly. The only thing now you need to do is to see how big resolution your PC can handle. I was going up to 300, and that is, I believe, where I'm stopping. And this first part of where we simulate our objects is pretty much done. I'm gonna now bake it again. As you can see, now it says 1.71 gigabytes. Like I said, adding this final resolution of the simulation is gonna really take a lot of memory. Again, I'm gonna go to 4, and here is the part where I'm gonna pause the screen recording, and I'm gonna let this bake. And like I said, it's gonna be 300, and I think we have everything set, and we can roll that bake. Once it's baked, I'm gonna show you how to export it and later import it to Keyshot and prepare the animation right there. So click bake, and that's it for now. And it took me, I would say, less than 1 hour for this baking process to end, and here we can see that our simulation looks fairly decent. And that's pretty much done. If you are happy with the results, you can now move to the next step I'm gonna show. If not, you can play with the settings and perhaps try something better in terms of resolution, particles and stuff. But first, you want to make sure that you can export this thing. This is the critical part for my PC, because if the resolution is too high and I have too much details, it just doesn't want to export it. So let's see if it's gonna work this time around. We go to export alembic. Alembic is the file that contains all of these, as you can see it now, and it will provide us geometry for Keyshot. Here I'm gonna be selecting, cancel. We just first need to select, so hold shift and select our watch, cube and cylinder. Now go to file, export, alembic, and here we have few things to select. Mark this one, and I'm gonna leave this as it is, even though I should not be having particles. If you have particles, then make sure that it's also selected. I'm gonna name it, it's tutorial. So now if I press this button and the blender crashes down, it means that it's too heavy for my PC and probably for yours. If it doesn't crash, it means that it worked. And looks like we have it. Oh my god. We have finished this part of the work. Now we can move to Keyshot. I'm using Keyshot 8. You can use any. I think that Keyshot 7 and 8 are supporting this thing that we are doing. I'm not sure about Keyshot 6 and previous versions. I'm gonna shut down the blender, and we are now importing this ABC file. It contains like almost 400 megabytes. So we drag it here and make sure it's in the animation selected deformable meshes, and I think that's pretty much what we had to do. Import. Now it may look laggy, but I think everything is fine. Yep. I'm gonna switch to performance mode. I don't want my PC to crash right now when we have finished the hardest part of the work. Now let's just check if it looks cool or not. Yeah, it's really nice, maybe even better than what I've done previously. What we don't need in this scene is this cube. No, not this one. This is the watch. It's this cube, so we're gonna shut it down, and this cylinder. We just need the water and the watch. I'm gonna show you now why do we need watch. And for the water, you can at the moment add a liquid material that is gonna be water, and as you can see now it looks a lot better. I'm gonna switch to some more neutral environment color so we can see better, and I'm also gonna switch to some other type of environment just to have a little bit more contrast so we can all see better what's going on here. Okay, like I said, this STL file was used for Blender, and if you remember well, we had 3 seconds of animation. Somehow it gone to 375, but I don't mind, I'm gonna be using it. I'm also gonna switch to full HD resolution right here, and yeah, at the moment it looks really good. I'm gonna switch off animation. Let's take care of the watch. Right now we need to add some materials, so hide the water, it's right here. Save the KSP file tutorial, and now we're gonna import that other file that I mentioned. It's called Apple Watch Keyshot SolidWorks. Open and import no 0.5. Okay, adjust blah blah, snap scene, auto scene, adjust camera, separate. Okay, import. And now, as you can see, this thing is huge. I can't even see where our watch from the Blender is. Here it is. Okay, let's slightly move our watch we just imported so we can see this other one. Now you might be wondering, how the hell are we going to match this scale and fit everything? Well, let me show you. If we click down here, it's gonna say scale 1. If we click on our watch that we just imported that has more details, it's also scale 1. But look at this trick. If you go to right click on this STL watch from Blender that we imported and you say copy position, and you go here and say right click paste position, you will notice that we have a perfectly scaled model. It's not perfectly set to position, but it's easy to do. So let's switch to top view and do that, and I hope that this tip is gonna help you in some other projects as well, not only for this one. We are gonna rotate it 90 degrees, and we don't only have to match it from the top but also from the front. For some reason this whole thing is let's hide and unhide. This thing is turned in a wrong way. I'm gonna right click here, add to group, and I'm gonna add everything to this first group so we can rotate everything together. So rotate, I'm gonna look from the front view again. I'm gonna rotate it like this, and like this as well. So when it's rotated, the watch should be facing the front view like this. Again, I'm gonna switch everything off. I'm gonna hide everything and unhide the STL watch and the watch that we just added. We still have to match the position. Make sure to save the progress every once in a while, and this is gonna be easy. Just move this model until you see that it's matching and overlapping this other model like almost fully. These small, how it's called, they are gonna help a lot. These smaller objects are adding to our precision. Now a little bit to the front. I'm gonna switch off rotate, only translation is what we need right now. And as you can see, I think it's almost right there, just slightly up. I think that's it. Now looking from here, it's a little wrong. Maybe slightly to the right, left, right, left. That's the point that we wanted from the start. These two to overlap. Let's just see if it's perfect or not. I think that's it. And now we are also gonna switch off this one because we are not gonna need it. We only need the one we just imported. Click save. I'm gonna add some materials. You can edit materials and add colors that you prefer. I'm just gonna show quickly how I did this. Lighting, okay. I'm gonna use like probably rough paint that is red for this one. I'm gonna go to colors and add scarlet, and that's what I want. I don't think I need some special settings. This looks okay. For the case we need some sort of metal. If you use like metallic paint, it may look really nice. You can play a lot with these kind of materials and make it look pretty cool. And if you are worried about the rendering time, just use polished metal. I'm gonna use polished metal just to have like easy work for my PC, because I also have to record the screen. Like I said, if you use metallic paint, you can play with the color and make it look really cool. Here are some settings on how would I do it. Here you can really adjust the final look of it, also this thing as well, depending on the reflection that you want to get, like more or less. I'm gonna unlink this part right here, and I'm gonna right click on it and say show only. We're gonna move to the front view again. Okay, it's unlinked and we can add metal. I'm gonna use aluminum. I think it's brushed, yes. Here I'm gonna say in the texture where is the bump, I'm gonna say like 10, just so I see better what's happening. And I'm gonna add one as well. Okay, I think I can now work with it. So we're gonna say brushed, and from box we go to cylinder. We want something like to look radial brushed, just like on the original rendering. Move texture and say position. Click in the middle, and as you can see, this thing showed up. So remove rotate, add translate to it, and just move it to the center. And now, as you can see, we have the texture that we wanted. Make sure that it's well centerized. I think in my model it is. Now when you have that done, I'm gonna switch off and unhide our parts, As you can see, it's not really matching our metal color, so let's see what we have to do. Also, I think it has too much of these. Let's try to simplify. I'm gonna switch material from metal to metallic paint. You can see already a huge change. And for the base color, I'm gonna click on bump, hold shift and move bump to base color as well. Again, you can see another change. Let's see on the scale, should we scale it down? Okay, and diameter 1. What was the... I think it was diameter that we need to change in order to have less of these stripes. Yeah, 0.5, 0.3, 0.4. I think this looks okay. And now let's slightly adjust the color. I can add like more of this and change this color as well. So now it's a lot more like the case itself, and it's not like overkilling it like when it was the metal material. I'm gonna switch perspective to 100. Okay, click save again. I think we are done with this material. You can play with the settings on your own. I will just go to 32 samples. One sample is nothing for this material. Also 32 samples to make it look cool. I'm gonna unlink this part of the button and shift left click on the red, control shift right click here to paste that material. Like I said, this model of Apple Watch is not perfect, but we are just using it because it takes less time to download it from internet than create a new one. So front view, we need here something like just a simple shiny glossy paint. We can do like more or less depending on what you want for the lighting, for the look of it. We're gonna play with the lighting later. And what I also made was like a video label with a watch face. So double click here, labels, add video label, phone industry. There is a lot of crap on my PC. Don't look at that. So here is a folder and the watch face. Make sure to have one new blank folder. I'm gonna call it blank folder and make sure it's empty, and select this video. This video, I don't know where to leave it. I'm gonna leave it on my Facebook page so you can download it, or I don't know, I will leave it somewhere so you can download it, maybe on that GrabCAD file. You go to open, I'm gonna click to JPEG. It's not transparent. Go to blank folder. This is the folder where we will be exporting our frames, and click OK. Now it may prompt for this stupid error, just say OK. And I think it's gonna in the end work very well. Yeah, it does work, and it's like prompting for errors while it's not really necessary. Everything is fine. Scale 5, 6. Oh, that's too much. 5.5. And of course you don't want to have this facing down. I'm having a feeling that it's not perfectly centered, and it's not. Move texture and just slightly centerize it. Okay. For the depth, add some huge number, and for 5.4 perhaps. Yeah, okay. Of course, also you want to flip vertical and flip horizontal so it makes more sense. Now looking from the side and based on the lighting, you are allowed to do anything you want with the contrast. I'm not gonna bump it up, I'm gonna bump up the brightness. That looks fairly decent. And the next step, front view, we're gonna slightly edit this lighting on the HDRI. We go here and we're gonna actually select this one. Let's also switch off performance mode just so I check everything. Yeah, everything is fine. And I'm gonna switch back to performance mode. As you can see, this lighting is already looking quite well. No, I can't work with performance mode. I'm gonna work without it, and it looks fairly decent. What I like is how it's highlighting our size of the case. And just a second. What I don't like is this fairly stupid reflection right here. It doesn't make sense because on the bottom we have a different looking reflection. So let's just hide this one. Make sure for the resolution that we have the biggest one. And I'm gonna also hide this one. Now let's see. We just have to centerize when it comes to vertically center. So in order to do that, we're just gonna play with the height. I think that now this is in the middle. If we bump up the contrast, that's even better. Save, and we are just gonna add two simple lights, one at the bottom and one at the top. HDRI editor, we can actually use this one called underside, and we're gonna change its position by clicking here, set highlight, and click on the bottom of the case. That looks cool. I'm gonna duplicate it and click at the top of the case, and this actually gives us very nice results that I was not expecting. Okay, I'm just gonna slightly make this one smaller because I think there is slightly more light on the top than on the bottom. 25. And this is it. In terms of lighting, we are done. I'm happy with how it looks. The case looks awesome to me. Like I said, you can play with the materials, colors, lighting, and everything else that you might want to change. I'm gonna leave it as it is. And now we are switching back to animation. I think we are finished with materials. There is not a lot of details on this model. So front view, and we switch material tab. I'm gonna unhide this one. It is our water. On my screen it's gonna take some time, of course, and I think at this point I'm gonna have to switch back again to performance mode, just so, yeah, okay. I'm gonna move this, yeah, let's leave it as it is. I'm gonna zoom out I'm gonna zoom out till somewhere around here where I see that this water is ending on each side, so something like, it's something like 135. If you are in the front view, 135, perspective 100, and add a new camera. It's camera 1. Make sure that whatever you do, you don't fuck up your camera. For example, if you now accidentally do this, it's gonna say unsaved, so don't save it, just click Ctrl S and discard, and it's gonna bring you back to your camera. You can also lock it if you want. Like I said, if you want to change something on the model, switch to free camera and then you can play, because the animation that you do in this camera is automatically being lost if you switch out from it. And for a start, we can see that this water is looking good. I'm just gonna add fade out because we have like enough of 3 seconds for this one. So fade. Next I'm gonna click on the water. Next from 100 to a 0, and I'm gonna use, I think ease out is the best one. Finish. And here where the animation ends, I'm gonna also end this green one. Okay, so it's somewhere around 0.7 seconds. As you can see, it fades and disappears. On your PC, do not turn on performance mode unless you really have to. Yeah, you can see how it looks. Oh, it looks better if performance mode is off. I'm using performance mode because I don't want my window to crash, my Keyshot window to crash. As you can see, that this fading looks awesome. Now, as you can see, after the fading is done, what's gonna happen, around 5th second you're gonna have this screen, I forgot English. The screen is gonna appear. Okay, and we are gonna be adding just a little bit more animations to make this scene look interesting. We are somehow explaining in this 10 seconds that this watch is water resistant. So animation wizard, dolly, next, camera 1, next, 100. Make sure it goes from 0 to 10 seconds. With this one, I just wanna like slowly zoom in on our object. So as you can see, it's gonna be zooming out because I pressed the wrong button. It should be -100 or something. Okay, this is too much, maybe 50. Okay, again, this is something that it doesn't have to be like if I say 50. This is something up to you. If you want it like closer, you can say like 60. If you want it more far away, I don't know, then 40. I'm okay with the 50 because it's fitting my screen well and it's not like very huge. It's not huge. Or maybe 55. I'm sometimes hard to decide. Okay, so -55. Another thing that we're gonna change right now is we're gonna change our camera. Unlock, I'm gonna say inclination -25. So we are gonna be looking at it from a different perspective in the beginning of the animation. Save the camera, save the project. It would be just way too boring if we didn't have this inclination, because we're gonna add inclination animation and add these 25 degrees that we took from here. Finish, and it's gonna finish exactly in the 5th second. So it's gonna look like this. And for the motion ease, I'm gonna be using ease in, ease out. Looks good to me. Ctrl S to save, and we have again our front view. In the end, what we need to do, let me just check something. Quarters, thirds. Our model didn't move from the center, and that's okay. If it happens that your model due to adding this inclination moved from the center, what you can do is add animation wizard, camera translation, next, and for example add 5. This is only, like I said, if your model has moved from the center. So you would add, like, if it was up, you would add like 5. If it was down, you would say -5 or something, until you see that your model is centered. Like I said, I don't need this. I'm happy with the position of the model. You can see that it's perfectly in the center. So animation wizards, and we're gonna rotate. Next we go here and say this one, next, 25 degrees, original axis on the Y, finish, and it's gonna start perhaps here on the 7 seconds, and it's gonna be 1 second long. That was wrong axis. Global axis, that worked well, and I'm gonna say minus. Okay. And we are gonna move it from the center. Translation. Now this is also up to you. If you wanna move it to the left, up, you can say like 2 and I don't know, 10 or -10. If you wanna move it right, you're gonna say 10 or something like that. I want it left, -10, and I don't want it to go up or down, so it's gonna be 0 right here. And I think that's pretty much everything. One other thing also, I have my watch in a perfect position. Just a second. Actually, it's not in a perfect position because we still have the zooming in, and yeah, we want this zooming in, this dolly, to actually be ease out, so it's ending faster. Okay, it's actually gonna be 50, and here we can say 8, 7 is fine, 6.5 actually. Now what I see that has changed, take a closer look. In the front you have perfect lighting, and as it moves, the lighting changed. Let's see if we can try and perhaps use, this may not work, I'm gonna try and use orbit, next, camera, blah blah. We had like 25 degrees, finish. Let's change this. Okay, let's see now. Now that one has added additional rotation to our model, and that's something we don't want to. So let's say -25. That has deleted all of the rotation, so let's say -50. No, we should have gone in a different direction. 50. What the hell is wrong here? Or 25. Yeah, no. This rotation was -25, so this one should be like 20 perhaps. 0. No, this doesn't make sense. Like I said, it's not gonna work. Anyways, that was, I think, everything. Let's actually try, instead of rotation, let's try orbit. Yes, it was the orbit and not rotation. Now when we use orbit tool instead of rotation, we still have a fairly decent lighting, or not. No, now our model has modes, so let's add more here. 8. Actually, yeah, we did manage to have better lighting, I think, right now. That will be all for this video. In the video editing software here you can add some text, or I don't know, whatever you want to do with it. It's kind of changing itself right there. I guess this have more sense, or maybe 35. Let's see how it all looks, and I think we are done. That's all, folks, for today. I think I'm pretty happy with this one. What you also can do before doing the final rendering is work on your materials. I think I was getting the best look for the water when it was something like a refraction index of 1.6 for here, and for outside 1.2, something in those lines. You don't have to trust me, you can work it yourself. And also what you can do is, when you go to render animation, set frames so you have transparent background. You can again work on it if you don't like this gray color. Let's see the red one. You can even pick something like this. It's decent. It's decent. I think I'm gonna still stick to the gray one. You can also add vignettes. Don't overkill it. And like I said, that will be all. I really hope this tutorial was useful, and I'm sorry that I was not really perfectly focused. I was not perfect narrator today, but I think everything was to some degree well explained. Thank you for watching, and see ya in some of my next videos.